Hi, everybody. This is God Saad. Some of you may have noticed that on my social media, I've recently been satirizing uh, Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez. Now, most people fully understand why I would have turned my attention to critiquing some of her uh, shockingly idiotic ideas. But of course, others are all upset that I would be taking on this wonderful young woman with such bright and visionary ideas. When I usually turn my attention to someone, say, for example, Bill Nye, when he argued that solar panels and carbon emissions were surely linked to terrorism, when someone with a public forum, and certainly a very large public forum where a lot of people listen to your ideas, posits something that is worthy of exploration, if not ridicule, uh, then it's fair game to do so. And so, if you're going to throw your hat into the arena of public discourse, then you should expect that a lot of people are going to agree with you, and of course, some will disagree with you. This happens to everybody. It happens to me. So, in the case of Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez, when I critique her, it is for no other reason other than the fact that I think that she is symptomatic of a form of dumbing down associated with, a quick ascendancy on the celebrity, hierarchy, right? In the same way that I've written an article a while ago in Psychology Today about the narcissism and grandiosity of celebrities. What happens usually with celebrities? Because they play the part of someone who saved the world, they actually then start confusing the role that they play with real life, where they suddenly can espouse positions in physics and in epidemiology and in psychiatry and in neuroscience and and all over the place, because they're actors and therefore they know. And I don't mean to imply here that there is an elitism that whereby only professors should be allowed to espouse positions. Of course not. Anybody who has an idea, we should judge their ideas based on the merit of the idea, not whether they are a professor or a person with expertise in that topic or not. So an idea stands on its own merits. I'm all for that. The problem is when people, as I've explained on many occasions, don't exhibit epistemic humility, when they succumb to Dunning-Kruger effect, right? And again, for those of you who don't know, Dunning was one of my former professors of psychology at Cornell University, where I got my MS and PhD. That is a trait that is very ugly, because not only is it that you are idiotic, but you are self-assured in your idiocy, right? You're arrogant about your stupidity. And in the case of Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez, that's exactly what she is. She's an attractive young woman with sass. I mean, she's definitely very, media savvy in her ways. She's gotten a huge audience. That's good for her. But she then espouses things that are perfectly in line with this kindergarten logic that many utopian progressives manifest. And here I would recommend, by the way, a book by, let me just read it for you, a book by Evan Sayet called Kindergarten of Eden, How the Modern Liberal Thinks. He wrote it, I think, in 2012. Check out that book, because he exactly lays out the position of how many of these pie-in-the-sky platitudes are really akin to sort of someone who is arrested in their cognitive development, whereby they view the world through the wide eyes, the innocent eyes of a 5-year-old child. No human is illegal. All borders are racist. We must get rid of all these forms of energy to live in a cleaner world. Now, this doesn't mean that if we criticize Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez that we are climate change deniers. It doesn't mean that we don't understand that some of these realities must be addressed. Not at all. But it means that the solutions that are proposed are not only idiotic, they are profoundly expensive, unworkable, implausible, right? Let's retrofit every single building and house in the United States so it has lesser ecological footprint. Let's now move to walking around or traveling on donkeys. And let's get rid of electronic communication and use homing pigeons, as I recently declared I would be doing. I would only be traveling from now on donkeys and using homing pigeons for my communique. So this might be the last sad truth that I do, whereby you don't get the content delivered to you via a homing pigeon. When I use that type of sarcasm and satire, it's not because I'm incapable of reading her stupidity in the new green plan and commenting on each point, but regrettably, I don't have time to sit and comment about each of her points. My job is not to just sit and critique every syllable that Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez comes up with, but rather it's to simply point to the fact that the real world is a lot more complex than these types of platitudes. And what she represents is a form of intellectually arrested development, right? It sounds good. Let's all hold hands. Let's get rid of, racist clothes that create boundaries between us. Let's simply put fig leaves on our genitalia and sing Kumbaya and John Lennon's Imagine. What a wonderful world that would be. Okay? This is what I'm critiquing, right? Real people, serious people, are able to address these concerns without this kind of infantile platitudes that only work when you're taking a class on intersectional feminism at Wellesley College. But in the real world, where we know trade-offs matter, spending $100 trillion so that you could reduce carbon emissions by 0.0000001% would be a nice idea, but economics is about trade-offs. Is it worth spending $100 trillion to reduce that particular metric by that particular delta? That's how intelligent people think. And if you question that, it doesn't mean you're a science denier. I mean, it would be very difficult for someone to levy that accusation at me, since I spent my life trying to get people to think logically with reason, using evidence-based thinking. So to critique Professor Dr. Ocasio-Cortez is not because I'm jealous of the number of Twitter followers she has, or I'm jealous of her rising fame. Yes, I wake up every day and say, God damn it, why can't I be as famous as Ocasio-Cortez? Yeah, that's what's driving my satire. That's why I'm focusing on her now. No, I'm focusing on her because this type of idiotic, infantile, puerile, progressive virtue signaling is detrimental to public discourse. This is why I focus on this particular person now. And eventually we'll tire of her and we'll move on. But to the extent that over the past couple of weeks I've spent some time satirizing her, it's for no other reason other than that, because she represents a set of ugly symptoms associated with the dumbing down of public discourse. There you have it, folks. I wish you all a good week next week. Hope you're having a good Sunday, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.